Yeah, so they
break everything down.
And then go to the next spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just travel around doing that.
Yeah. And the
They're like bees or something. And they like,
yeah,
they jump.
make a giant hive and then
and jump on a flower or something, and like take all the pollen out. Go to each flower.
just spread it around.
Yeah.
And they're not the only species that can like connect with marks and stuff, but they're the ones that like basically ritualistically inhabit like just that marf energy because they operate on like that really just weird levels.
It's like it's like other people can take ayahuasca or something, but they're not like shamans.
Yeah.
Like who have like learned from their elders how to do it.
And the Nagel are all about that. So yeah, their culture is like it has that hierarchy of like these elder chieftains that are hooked up to like the craziest gadgets that just like they're basically one with the cosmos and they sit there and then they like determine where things are and they'll just be placed around the world like it's these little hubs of where all other marfs were and stuff and they connect with each other and like know where things are and like here and then the kick off
So
everyone follows.
I just want to draw a marf like that.
Yeah, with all these weird like spikes coming off it. It could just look like this, almost like a really like a spider web, but that looks like it's just a sea urchin type of structure to it instead of like a webby structure. It's like a sea urchin of spider web that has all these like gadgets built throughout it.
And then in the middle though, there's like because I remember talking about the clothes, and I don't know if it says it here, but they're kind of like like chainmail and like these kind of like all that tech stuff, and they're like, so you'd have this sea urchin stuff, but then in the center there's like all this stuff on the torso, right?
Yeah. Almost like a kind of Warhammer armor, Warcraft, like that type of whatever it is. Yeah.
Aztec.
Yeah, Aztec is what we read a lot, but don't really know what that is.
Yeah.
The essence of
Aztec Warcraft.
Yeah, Aztec war stuff. Yeah, and to them it's got kind of the same thing where like we call it nomadic, where like they travel from one place to another.
Yeah.
And live that way, but they don't see it that way. They see it as like just everything is their home constantly. Like they just kind of live within the cosmos. That's their home.
Right.
And then they like navigate this plane.
So instead of like I'm going to Australia, it's just like that's the basement.
Yeah. I live with the Marfs.
Yeah.
I'm always with the Marfs. Yeah. And then so in the Bane's world, what's kind of similar to that and why it kind of works is like Merlin Millar and guiding these fortresses or whatever is like they just go to these places where these Aztec things are suddenly built. So like instead of like a little creature that's falling like going in a fortress with big things, it's like the big thing is the Marf, the fortress is the houses they're constantly in, whatever, and the little thing is the one that's like following that around. And in the Bane's world, Merlin Millar, the concept of it is like that kind of ghost flame thing, which is like psyche. So it's like the psyche manifests itself as this fire externally. So when people have something like they've almost lost their state of psyche, or like so the part of their psyche is really strong and component, and it's like they're not aware of it, or they want to get rid of it, or anything like that.
Dude, but not really.
Yeah, not quite. But yeah, same idea as something manifests itself. But it's like if it's a component or a part of themselves that they don't like want to have as a part of themselves, they want to get rid of it. Kind of like the Nagel thing is like get rid of all of your junk. So it's like this space. They want to make space. It manifests itself in that world as like this flames and this figure that's like looking at the world around it and being like, I need to change my environment, anything like that. So it starts to like it's kind of destructive. What exists isn't what I want. I need to force what I want into existence, and like this part of the psyche escapes a person, but it kind of takes over a person. So then it becomes like this figure of them, but it's in this like flame form that's just like destructive and trying to like whatever it is. So the psyche saints are the people that basically pay attention to how the psyche of everyone is going on like this. They can kind of navigate
like
the
shamans.
Flames. Yeah, like shamans, they can just tell how energy is moving and stuff, and then they pinpoint where the next person who has like this psyche that's really strongly they're like ready to get rid of it, but they're just not able to or whatever. And like that, their world is of course very developed.
Yeah.
So it's super developed where it's like when a person's really strongly wanting to get rid of something, it's like just pure essence flame that just erupts from them.
Right.
And it's like huge amounts of it constantly because they're developing so fast, so much all the time. So it's just like you'll be in this area and it's like, I sense something over there, and then like they'll go to like Marf, who's I'm thinking is part of like a castle or like that big kind of performance show thing, and he's just like the one who.
You mean Merlin Millar?
Marf is like the what do you call it, like
is he a guardian?
House manager? No, he's like the house manager that everybody communicates with.
Oh, okay.
So like there's the Banes, Merlin Millar, Sign, Savin, and Lumino. And they all kind of center around this big kind of performance show. It's like an opera house, but like to the grand scale. It's like basically a city that is performance. And there's this Marf guy who everything kind of relays through.
Sure.
And he's like, he knows from everybody that's going on and everything. He kind of has all the connections. So he'd be like, all right, we need some Psyche Saints here, apparently. There's something going on. I don't know. Go ask these guys. Like, just that type of thing. So he's the one that navigates it all. And they'll go to him, and he's like, all right, what I've heard is something's over there. And he doesn't really sense it himself, but he knows all the stuff. It's like he's just connected to it all. He doesn't actually do or know anything. And it just like gravitates to it. And so he'll be like, we need something there. So Merlin Millar would be the scouts, kind of like the quill specialists. Like they're just the specialists that go out there and like find the spot and like see what the area is and see what needs to be done to the area. So the Merlin Millar would go out there as a team. So they're kind of like this collective nomadic unit, like bees. So they're the bees that go out there and be like, all right, we need to set up a base here, do this, do that, whatever. So I was thinking what I wrote in like one of the short little writings I've done so far is like Millar goes around and kind of secures the perimeter to make sure the flame won't spread and like amplify and stuff. And Merla goes to the center of where that is and finds who it is and like what's about to happen, and then deals with like that. So it's kind of like that little team thing where they like clear out an area, and the Psyche, instead of a Marf expanding with this huge amount of energy to deteriorate everything and then unleash more, it's the Psyche of somebody erupts in this flame figure that's like this monster that's destructive, and then it needs to be like just cleared out in the area around it so it doesn't like spread and destroy everything. It's just like does what it needs to in the area, and then leaves, and the person has a ton of energy freed up.
It's so weird. It's like I'm just thinking it's like the Supernaturalist. It's like Spider-Man Far From Home. It's like the Minority Report, where they like, who's gonna, they kind of sense, the future or whatever, and like,
it's got all.
It's some you could say it's a combination of all three of those things and more,
and then some.
But,
so that's like
so awesome.
So that's what I kind of based the Bane's world around. But with the Banes, I wanted them to be obviously we're like with the main characters like the heroes. It's like Kumajo's supposed to be the manifestation of Loigar, like represent the whole thing. So the Banes, I didn't come up with that for Merlin Millar until we started doing writings actually. But for the Banes, I was like, all right, I just need some way of representing the Nagel as this thing that just shows up on the world and kind of messes it up, but for the better. So like wrecks everything and then makes it better. So the Bane's story and why I was thinking of in HH, at some point they go back to the world and they're like, okay, your world's okay, and then they leave. Because I was thinking the Banes, and only through Marf, so like a lot of the others don't really know what's going on, but the Banes in their world realized how this Psyche stuff worked, kind of like on a level beyond what people thought. So they're the ones that kind of had that thing where they got everyone to see very clearly their own kind of wants and desires and their like the things they chase and cling to and their aversions, like all this greatest stuff.
The Banes got everyone to see that.
So it's like kind of like they set out this kind of the flames, and that's why the original name for them was like the Ghost Flame Bond or something. Is they bound everyone to them, so that the Banes was like everybody's greatest fear, everyone's biggest desire, like whatever they cling to. Instead of being like, man, I really love chocolate. Instead, it was like, man, I really love Banes. Like every single thing that you liked or disliked became Banes. And then they did that to the world. And then they removed it. And then when it was like everything's the Banes, and nobody cared about anything else. Then it went back. It was like, do I really like any of this? Do it like, do it like. It's just they realize almost like they just see how much their mind just controls everything and is like not part of them or whatever, so that people really focused on getting these flames out of them, and then that became like a bigger need for psyche saints, and that's why all these other people started popping up. So that's like kind of what I was thinking with the Banes, is like a Nagel shows up in a world or like an area, and it's like all of this needs to go, and like just cosmically, like you can tell, like if a Marf like going to show up here and a Nagel show up, we wouldn't have to be like, all right, what do we need to do? We just like, no, I don't need this.
Act.
I need that. Like this needs to be in place. That's not here yet. Like you go. Yeah. And I was thinking like that's the kind of thing with it is with Banes. It's like just Nagel shows up, you gotta get rid of everything, and then because like then you have room to grow. Right. And the Banes, I was just like they show up, get rid of everything, and then comes back and then people have room to grow. And like, that's the only reason that they exist. So the rest of it has like slowly developed from there. So we can kind of do something cool with Merlin Malar as scouts, with like that kind of concept as like I don't know if the treasure tales happen after or before the Banes do that. Like maybe the Ghost Flame stuff is only possible because of what the Banes did, and then everyone else is kind of figuring out.
Well, it sounds like Merlin Malar being a scout for that process would have more to do if it happens after.
Yeah.
He'd be more active instead of like maybe he goes on one but it's not as like big.
Yeah.
So story-wise, it makes more eventful to do it after.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a cool mystery to it too.
And then people would be talking about the Banes.
Yeah.
Because that's what we want. We need that in the thing.
And they can call it like the Ghost Flame Bond or something. It's like some kind of unique quirk of that.
Whatever it goes.
Yeah. And then that's why the Banes are like nowhere to be found and stuff.
Yeah.
They need a reason for that kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
And well, they wouldn't be found because I mean they're just, they're just a symbol basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what.
They don't even have to be around anything.
That's kind of why in HH they find them in this desolated area. Like that's kind of why it's like they're away from everything, and they like it that way because they can just hang out. Yeah.
Why did they even show?
Yeah. If something like the Merlin Malar.